Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 just got a whole new trailer that reveals a ton of details, including Huggy Wuggy returning, new hidden characters, a ton of lore secrets, Daisy the Flowers in the chapter, and tons of other mysteries hiding that I guarantee you missed. So looking at the newly released trailer, it just dropped out of absolutely nowhere, and this trailer shows us tons of cool things like new characters, new gameplay mechanics, new locations, and most importantly, at the end of the trailer, we get a full reveal of Catnap and the official final release date of January 30th, just a week from when this video goes up. So yes, we will be playing this game this month, and boy does it look amazing, but there is a lot to break down in this trailer that you probably missed, and I'm gonna go over every single little thing. So going scene by scene, starting from the beginning of the video, the first thing we see is a random person projecting some pictures of the employees, seemingly putting the children in Playcare to sleep, presumably with the red catnap sleeping gas seen before, and the next image shows some photos of the actual children inside Playcare, presumably some type of candidates for experiments. As in the next photo, we are shown a document we've seen before for experiment 1188, or the code name for catnap, and a picture of the child chosen for the catnap experiment, Theodore Graham-Bell, an orphan in the Playcare. In the next shot, we are shown our first full look at the Playcare facade that mimicked a real-world city, and in this little shot, we could see some cool things like a big statue in the middle that showed off all of the smiling critters around some bushes, which is pretty interesting. And then they show us some of the many areas in the chapter, while an employee who I think is Elliot Ludwig says,
Playcare, our very own on-site orphanage. But it's not only that. It's a school, a playhouse, a place to belong.
And during this dialogue, we first get to see the outside of the Playcare school, which shows us some cute things like these roadblocks with eyes on them, some poppy flower drawings plastered all over the roof, and even a little fuse box over to the right that I assume we will get to use to power up the school and get inside of it. The next shot inside the building shows us a little schoolroom that has plushes of Crafty Corn, Kissy Missy, Catnap, and even a full mural of Huggy, Dog Day, Mommy, and Boxy Boo. Plus, looking at the TV in the middle, you might actually recognize it from the first gameplay trailer's intro that played the Smiling Critters cartoon, so that's pretty cool. And then next we are shown the outside of an area called the Playhouse, which is shaped like a carousel with a slide on the side, presumably being where the children inside went to go and play, of course. And this has all sorts of little secrets, like on the right we could see somebody wrote the Hour of Joy with a bunch of hand marks, referencing the hour in the game's lore where all of the toys began to attack the employees in the factory, causing all of them to go missing in the factory closing. Going back to the scene though, we can also see some dead toys right outside of the house, some more messages referencing the attack, and even some scratch marks on the floor that look like the ones we saw from Catnap before, suggesting he could be lurking around this area. Not to mention at the bottom here, there's a little chest of play coins, which is a reference to Project Playtime's in-game currency, which is pretty neat. Next we see a shot of Home Sweet Home, the location the kids went to sleep, where inside we could see a moon chandelier on top with clouds, of course, because it's meant to mimic being outside. Not to mention we see this big toy block that looks extremely similar to Boxy Boo, which is weird since the devs already confirmed he's coming back in some way, so maybe this could be him. But outside of that, we could see this super weird door with a sun sign on top of it, which is extremely odd, since we could see that the area is completely chained and barred up so that way no kids could enter it, clearly meaning this was an employee-only room. But judged from the sun symbol, I wonder if maybe this could be where they actually controlled when it was day and night inside a Playcare, since in the trailer we sometimes saw the Playcare during the day and other times at night, so maybe in this door was where they controlled it, or perhaps it could be something like the day-night doors from Hello Neighbor where we can only enter them during certain hours of the day. We also in this shot see a ton of art and posters, including a kid's drawing of outside and Catnap, a child photo, and a drawing beside a couple posters, one of Dog Day saying sky's the limit, and another torn off one showing what looks like a Catnap plush standing on some sort of counter that I can't read. Next we are shown another shot of Home Sweet Home, which is an in-game version of this screenshot we have already seen before, and here we could see more of these Boxy Boo looking building blocks and some weird embers burning in the air, along with a full full-blown hole in the floor that is absolutely filled with smoke for some mysterious reason. Then in the next shot, we are shown a video of an unnamed VHS where we could see the filmers inside of an area that looks like the play place area, judged from the slides and foam walls we have seen from other screenshots. And while walking around the area, the filmer turns the camera around and of course encounters the red gas creeping up on them. Next, we are shown a shot of the game station train crashed outside of the playcare, picking up from the train crash at the end of chapter 2 by a place called the work area. But then the next shot shows us again inside of Home Sweet Home in the pitch black with a massive statue of Bobby Bear Hug following us with his eyes. Now, to be honest, I really have no idea what this statue is here for or what it could do in the chapter. It could be similar to things like the Make a Friend machine where it ominously follows you with its eyes but does nothing. Or perhaps it could maybe come to life and even attack us, which just sounds like complete nightmare fuel. In the next shot, we see the player picking up our second new hand, this time a red hand shaped like a flare gun that comes loaded with 5 shots. And in the following frame, we get to see Catnap actually lurking in Home Sweet Home, only being lured away by us shooting a flare in his direction. I also want to point out how in this dark area, we don't use any sort of flashlight or anything, so it seems like these flare shots are going to literally be our only way of seeing in the dark, which again sounds completely horrifying. Then the next shot shows us a full-blown map of the playcare, which when pausing allows us to see every single location mapped out. At the bottom, we can see there is the entrance. Then to the right is the playhouse with a description here that reads, "Made for play and imagination. This is the place for fun in playcare." Then there is the school described as the place where all the children of playcare come to learn and grow. Then at the top is Home Sweet Home described as a place for rest and relaxation after a long day's learning and play. To the left, we could see the toy store where every child should have a toy, and every child of playcare can find one here. Then finally, in the bottom right, we could see the counselor's office that they describe saying, "Have a problem? You found the perfect place to talk about it. Our counselors help any and all." Which is already super interesting because in last year's chapter 3 ARG, we had already gotten a couple insider documents from the counselor department who worked here, which could hide some lore for future theories. But what's even more interesting is in the counselor's office drawing on the map, we could see at the top all of these smiling critters are present, including Catnap on the roof. But the one in the middle is very clearly a statue of Dog Day holding some type of cane as if he were a king. And in fact, for a split second, we can even see the office in the background where, again, this Dog Day statue is standing in the middle with a staff as if he was some sort of royalty or superior, which I guess makes sense since he is described in his character description as being the leader of the other smiling critters. But I wonder if this could mean he has a greater purpose in chapter 3. Also in this shot, as you can see on the map, all of the lampposts are big bronzy dinosaurs with long necks, which I guess means after a ton of theories, he truly did show up in chapter 3 in some way. The next shot shows some stairs in Home Sweet Home and us grabbing a green hand button, so that will be returning as well. Plus, on the sides of the walls, we can again see this Dog Day space poster, a couple other posters that are pretty unreadable, and even one here of Huggy sleeping, which was actually leaked a few months back in a Japanese pop-up shop that in the full version shows Catnap putting Huggy to sleep saying, "Get some rest." The next scene is where things really start to get weird as the next 2 shots show us moving around this weird underground cave area in the playcare that we've only ever seen a couple times before with not much really known about it, suggesting it's probably pretty important and secret to the story. But as all these shots are being shown, a brand new voice plays for us in the background saying,
"The kids used to live here. Now look at it. Every shadow and every flickering light is a hiding spot. And when you're at your most vulnerable, he'll kill you."
Before cutting back to the VHS tape again of Catnap slowly revealing himself, of course hinting that this weird message is about him. But what's odd about this is who is this child talking to us in the game? Well, we don't exactly know and probably won't know until the game releases, but what's most interesting about this audio is that it's a brand new character and a child actively being friendly and talking to us in the game, suggesting maybe there's a friendly monster or possibly even other people inside of the factory factory we get to talk to. In fact, my personal theory is throughout the entire rollout of Chapter 3, we've been seeing references to this random phone character out of nowhere, first being sent to us in Project Playtime, teased in the second teaser trailer, and shown ringing in the first gameplay trailer, meaning obviously it's super important to the chapter in some way. And while the phone is nowhere in sight in this trailer, I wonder if this kid communicating and warning to us about all of the dangers in Chapter 3 could be talking to us through this phone. I don't know though, let me know your theories down below. But moving on from the voice, in the next shot we see a whole new Chapter 3 gameplay mechanic where we can use some type of camera activated arm to get a third extra GrabPack hand, which can be used to create the chain reactions across the power pillars, which looks like a super interesting mechanic, and I can already see myself getting confused because this looks very complex. But in the next scene, we see the player holding onto some sort of battery that when fed into the door opens up a path for us to explore, which is another insanely cool looking mechanic because it means we will have to collect more items in game and will give us a new way of unlocking paths and doors in the factory. Not to mention, if you look into the bottom right, you can see that this part of the game takes place in the counseling building we mentioned before, with directions to an office from the character Stella Graber, who was a character we saw in a VHS tape from all the way back in Chapter 1, confirming she has a presence all the way here in Chapter 3 and even worked as a counselor in the play care, which is super cool. The next shot shows some more showcases of the flare gun mechanic, which again looks super cool, before cutting this time to us in some sort of office room, possibly the counseling building or school buildings from before, while wearing the infamous red gas mask from other trailers amidst all the red smoke in the area. And this shot hides a ton of secrets. For instance, we can first see there is a poster with Daisy the flower on it, which is a very weird cameo considering she is a rejected toy who never got sold. But in her rejected paper, she was described as a marionette and was rejected for being too scary for the kids. Which really makes me wonder if maybe they had first tested her with the children in play care as a marionette, possibly for the playhouse area, and had rejected her and stopped selling her in the Chapter 2 room after the orphans from the play care found her scary. I mean, we know Playtime Co likes to use these children as test subjects, hence the game station and them literally turning them into monsters. So it's possible maybe they tested other toys like Daisy here before putting them up for sale. Which, if correct, could suggest she is actually hiding around play care somewhere as a new enemy, giving me the theory once again that she might actually end up showing up in Chapter 3 in some way. But going back to the trailer, next in this shot, we see some doors of some department leaders, with the first one on the left reading Head of Gas Production, led by a new name, Nate Carpenter, who is clearly going to be very important. Then there's the head of Playhouse, Greg Facteo, who is also a new name. Then finally, there's the head of Home Sweet Home, ran by someone named Lisa Roth. And this is all while the same mystery child from before talks more about Catnap, saying,
Playcare is his church, his hunting ground, whatever he wants it to be.
Which is a super important piece of dialogue because it tells us two key things about Catnap. One being that, of course, this place is his church or place of worship, which seemingly confirms that he's in some kind of religion or cult that has been teased many times before with shrines and candles. So that will be cool to see expanded upon, along with them saying it's his hunting ground, which is debatedly more interesting, as at the beginning of this video we mentioned that Catnap was a 7-year-old child named Theodore turned into this beast out of his will. But if he was just an innocent child, why do we see him attacking people in the trailer? Well, in the very first trailer of all of Poppy Playtime, they had actually established in a secret message that all of the monsters except for the prototype required some kind of sustenance or food to survive. And when this kid in the trailer tells us that the play care was Catnap's hunting ground, this likely means Catnap was going around and eating everything in the play care because he was hungry, which I guess explains what happened to all of the children. And it's actually also why we saw Huggy Wuggy in Chapter 1 attack us with drawings on the wall saying he was so hungry. So that fully gives us our motive as to why Catnap was here attacking us, but the trailer is far from over. As next up, we see ourselves again in Home Sweet Home, powering up some kind of vehicle with more writing on the side saying Hour of Joy, and I'm assuming we will use this little cart as a way to to open the door right in front of us, giving us another way to progress throughout the factory. While we then hear the familiar voice of Poppy in the background saying,
"Wanna know what happened? Why? This is your answer."
Revealing a VHS tape called The Hour of Joy before cutting to one final clip of Catnap attacking the person in the VHS, confirming these little VHS cuts we've seen around the trailer are actually from back when the factory was still open, and from when all of these toys began to attack the employees in The Hour of Joy. Which is super cool, and I hope in Chapter 3 we get to see the rest of this tape in the future. But the trailer continues on to probably the second biggest reveal of the whole trailer, revealing a whole new character hiding in the distance who jumps towards the player as the lights cut off, which already sparks to me so many theories that I might need to make my own video just on the topic. But for now, we can see they appear to be in the school area of the play care, judged from the science sign on the wall, and they also appear to literally teleport in the darkness, which is super odd, especially since before the trailer release, the developers already teased a whole new mystery character coming into Chapter 3, who appears to have been revealed here. But then in the next shot, we see more mechanics of the player jumping around with the purple hand that looks like it's going to be a ton of fun, so that's great to see. Even showing us some more shots of this weird underground area that again seems like it's going to matter to the story in a way we haven't figured out yet. Before, more interestingly, we actually get a shot in the play care area of a mini dog day chasing the player, before being scared off by a flare gun, which is actually the second time we've seen a dog day live version in the game, first in the first gameplay trailer, suggesting first off that there could be both monster and small versions of the smiling critters. In fact, in last year's ARG, there was a teaser that showed off a Bobby Bear Hug running around too. And this also tells us, like what we saw with Catnap at the beginning of the trailer, that the smiling critters are scared of the flare gun, and it's probably going to be our main line of defense in the factory. And then next, we get a more peaceful shot of Kissy Missy and Poppy hanging out together, this time in the calming darkness of the play care, seemingly during the nighttime, which is very wholesome and nice to see, before immediately being interrupted by a shot of the player running through a big hallway that says help at the end, where we can also on the left side see Catnap scratch marks and another door that says head of toy store, naming another new character as Eduardo, not even to mention another Daisy the Flower poster on the right, getting then bombarded by probably the craziest shot of the trailer, showing a weird, super demented version of Huggy, who we've seen before teased in the first gameplay trailer, this time chasing the player and attacking them, very similar to how we did in Chapter 1, but this time much more creepy, which again has so much potential lore behind it that it requires its own analysis. But we can see that Huggy is in fact confirmed to appear in this game in some way, although I'm extremely curious as to how he went from this to this. Perhaps they are entirely separate Huggies. We then get one more shot from the Hour of Joy VHS of the recorder running before falling to the ground, where that tape seemingly ends, but not before we see the extremely dramatic reveal of Catnap walking towards the screen while another completely new character says,
"All that awaits you are incomprehensible horrors, smiling mouths full of teeth and meat and plastic. This world is theirs now. Welcome home."
And this message also is super revealing for the trailer, since judged from the fact that the person says smiling mouths full of teeth and meat and plastic, they seem to be referencing these smiling critters, and like how we said during the Hour of Joy, they attacked the employees and took over the factory. But they also claim that they are full of teeth, meaning Catnap apparently has teeth somewhere in his body. Not even to mention that the voice is talking in plural, meaning the other smiling critters could also be roaming the factory in a dark demented form as well. I mean, we already also saw a demented form of Dog Day, so who knows who else there is. But that's the end of the trailer, and overall, to bundle it up, it tells us everything about Chapter 3 while also leaving a bunch of stuff up to interpretation. We now know the start of the game will likely take place after the train crash, and the main hub of the world, similar to Chapter 2's game station, will be the Playcare's outdoor area. Most of the monsters are going to be multiple different forms of the smiling critters, players, with some other returning ones coming in the mix as well. And our job is going to be to explore Playcare with what seems to be our friends Kissy Missy and Poppy, for now anyway, with our main goal seemingly being to find this Hour of Joy tape that has the answers we have been looking for whenever we originally entered the factory in chapter 1. Will we do it successfully? Will we survive all of these creatures? And most importantly, will Sweet Sheep finally appear in chapter 3, my fan-made character? Well, I'll see you all next week, but subscribe here because I'll be theorizing all about this trailer and some of these secrets we've seen this week.